Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
Up front today, we'll be taking a look at one of the world's musical greats, Dizzy Gillespie. His name is synonymous with jazz, and he's one of the founders of the jazz phenomenon known as bop. Our one-to-one segment today features Mary Kay Waring. She'll be talking to us about foreign exchange students. We continue our look at minority-owned and operated businesses. This week, we'll be looking at Raymond Cosey of Baton Rouge. He is a hairstylist who has pioneered and capitalized on the unisex trend in hair salons in Louisiana. I'm Rob Hinton, and we'll have those stories today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks who live, folks got to give, folks got to care, folks got to share. Small, so very small. What touches one of us, who touches us all? To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Folks. Up front today, we have a story about a man who's truly a legend in his own time. That man being Dizzy Gillespie, a jazz trumpeter and an all-around musical great. Recently, Dizzy brought his jazz knowledge and know-how to Southern University, where he conducted a combination workshop rehearsal with some future jazz greats. His real name is John Burks Gillespie, but to the world he is simply called Dizzy.
Well, you know, he's a national treasure, and we are very fortunate to have him under the conditions under which we do have him, because we can actually get the esoteric interpretation of his own music. That only happens in modern times, where we have recordings and visitation from these artists. In the European classical fields, Igor Stravinsky and Stravinsky is the first music master to actually record his own works. But we do have the Dizzy Gillespies, who are still extant and who can give us the esoteric interpretation of their music. Although the music abounds in the school environment written, there's no way that you can interpret it 100% properly, because you have to have been a part of that scene in order to do it properly. So now we'll be more authoritative as we approach the music that he has given the legacy.
Dizzy didn't play his trumpet much during the open workshop rehearsal, and when he did, well, it was barely loud enough to be heard. Yet just the sight of the legendary trumpeter with his instrument in place was quite enough for those of us on hand. Sponsored in part by the Louisiana Black Culture Commission, Dizzy and the Southern University Jazz Ensemble were practicing for a concert later that night. It was a very serious rehearsal, and Gillespie worked the band very hard to achieve the sound he wanted.
Hey, all right. Say boom, 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 bam. Go say ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. They doing. So you just do one of, if you want to do ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, you can do that with you, but your bass drum got to say boom, 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 okay? Let's play that part. Let's come on. 3, 4.
As for the students, well, when all was said and done, they benefited greatly from their rehearsal with Gillespie.
It's just been fantastic because he just takes all the time in the world. He's actually changed parts, you know. It's just incredible.
How would you describe his impact on the world of jazz?
Well, he's one of the founding fathers of the modern music. He's one of these people who changed the whole face of American music. And if nobody had not ever known who he was, still they would have responded to the impact that he had on music. So he's one of the true innovators. He and Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk and Kenny Clark.
What do you think about these young people who are having interest in jazz today?
They're fighting it. It's good. I'm very much interested in younger musicians because I know that is going to be the salvation of our music. You never know which one of these guys is going to come up and hit it.
Gillespie is said to be one of the founders of bebop, which became popular back in the early 40s. He talked to us about jazz the way it is today.
It's moving.
How is it moving?
Moving and an odyssey of tremendous spirit and talent. It's very good. I'm very satisfied with the situation of jazz today.
Okay, back to the rehearsal, and let's see how the band fares under Dizzy's direction. Dizzy Gillespie, truly a musical genius. We are now going to talk about the American Field Service High School Exchange Program. Foreign exchange students is the term we used when I was in high school many years ago. Our focus will be on the Baton Rouge AFS High School Exchange Program. Here to talk with us about the program is Mary Kay Waring, the AFS representative in the Baton Rouge area. Mary Kay, welcome to Folks.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit first of all about AFS. Exactly what is it?
Well, it's the oldest and it's the largest and the finest exchange program in the United States. Every year they bring 3,000 youngsters into the United States from 69 countries. And this is something that's certainly not true of other programs, reaching out to all these countries in the world, many of which are considered developing nations.
Now, our focus today is pretty much on the exchange program here in the Baton Rouge area. What can you tell us about that one?
Well, at this time we're looking for families. People, any place in the state of Louisiana that would be interested in hosting a high school exchange student next year for the coming school year. We want to find out who they are and where they are. If they'll give us a call, we will make an interview with them. And there are no restrictions at all. Believe it or not, we'll take single-parent families. We'll take persons who have no children at home, maybe older couples, as well as couples who have younger children, or those, of course, that have teenagers. So we're not restricted to any one group of people.
Exactly what is your role as far as being an area coordinator?
Well, we have a club here in the Baton Rouge area, and any students that are placed in other parts of the state will be under my wing, and I'll be in touch with them all year long, seeing how they're getting along and arranging activities for them throughout the year.
Now, you touched a little bit upon who can participate as a host family. Are there any kind of financial requirements? Or?
No financial requirements, really. You don't have to have a separate room for this youngster. We would like for him to have his own bed. But the child who comes receives an allowance while he's with you, and you furnish him with bed and board, essentially. You don't provide him with spending money, and you don't buy clothing for him, and you don't pay his medical expenses. All those things are covered. A lot of people want to know right away if they can claim him on their income tax. That's a good question. And you can't claim him or her as a dependent, but you can claim it as a gift, and we will tell people how that can be done.
Tell us, what does an AFF student, what does he offer a potential host family?
Well, a lot of fun and an adventure and a new experience that they couldn't have really any other way. Maybe a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to travel, but can you imagine if you have someone in your home for the year from South America or from Australia or New Zealand? It's a chance to learn about that country. And it really is a fun experience for everyone in the family. And many times a life-lasting relationship is built, and later on perhaps the family from Louisiana will get to go and visit the family of the student they host.
And vice versa, what does the family offer the student?
Support and love. Those are the two biggest ingredients that they need to offer the student. Even though all of these students have studied English, and many of them will say that they've come speaking good English, they're going to need love and help and support while they're here. Remember that they're all going to be 16, 17 years old, either a junior, usually a senior in high school. And they've come to make their own way and make friends in school and do their own thing like all our American teenagers, but they have little problems along the way, and they need that support of a family and somebody who's willing to give time and support.
I know when I was in high school many years ago, we called them foreign exchange students. Is that basically what we're talking about?
Yes, still the same. Some have graduated from high school already in their own countries and are coming here and just doing an additional year. Some have not graduated, will have to go back. I know I have a boy from Germany who will go back and do 1 or 2 years more in the German high school system while he's there. It's not necessarily counting as a year for his high school. It's just a year that they decided would be very beneficial for them to spend.
Do the youngsters experience any type of a period of adjustment? Is it difficult for them to adjust once they get here?
Definitely, and we, the support group, there's a large support group in Baton Rouge that we're always there 24-hour on call if you're having a problem with a student. It can be anything like, help, he's arrived, he doesn't like hamburger. We eat it 4 times a week, as do most American families. So we will immediately send one of our people over to talk with the family and with the student, either separate or together, and say, hey, you know, we eat hamburger a lot in the United States. What do you think you can do about it? Or then to the mother, you know, do you have anything else? Could he eat peanut butter 4 times a week instead? And we'll try to work out these problems with them, as well as having an orientation for them, and as well as having ongoing groups and meetings and activities throughout the year. So we're like one big happy family, all of us that decide to do this.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the students that you are looking for homes for?
Well, I have 4 that I'm particularly interested in placing in Louisiana. One is a boy named George, and he is from Austria. His father is a teacher there. He has a great sense of humor. He's he's 16 years old now, a very good student. He writes himself. I have complete papers on each of these students, incidentally, if a family is interested, that we will bring over with pictures, and they can read what the student wrote himself and what his school teachers and advisors wrote about him. He says that he had a good Catholic upbringing, and he really loves sports. And we even have a picture of him windsurfing. We know that there's a bit of that in Louisiana now. So, of course, we would like to place him in a family that is sports-minded, one that's academically minded, and know that it would be a good match for George. Now, if the match does not work out, there's no commitment on the part of the Louisiana family. We will move the student. And this does happen. We're not going to say that every match is perfect. They aren't. But we're always standing by to even remove the student on a moment's notice or to help work out, you know, any problems that might be. Another student that I have is a boy from Greece, and he has been very active in scouting. So we're looking for a family that is interested in scouting, perhaps Boy Scouting. I think that he would like to perhaps go on weekends with Scouts here, perhaps in an advisory capacity, since he is older and has had a lot of experience. He plays a lot of tennis. He has even given tennis lessons. He's an A student also, and you'll find this true about AFS students. They are the cream of the crop from their country. Many of them are going to go back to their countries and become leaders in the next generation, perhaps leaders in their governments or leaders in their schools. And you will find that they have all been leaders in their classrooms now. Lilia, who's from Argentina, is a student council representative and one of the best students in her school. On the other hand, she's unlike George that I just spoke about. She's a low-key person, perhaps. Maybe would be better in a little more quiet home. She has many interests. She plays the piano and the flute, and she's considered by her teachers to be very responsible, very persevering. And perhaps this has been made for the fact that she's had a handicapped brother that's lived at home, that's required round-the-clock care. And this would make other youngsters in the family mature, don't you think, when you've had a hardship like this that she has lived through. I'm sure that she will make her way in the United States very, very well, Lilia will. Another little girl that I think is just darling, her name is Katja. Or maybe we'd call it Katie.
Okay.
Okay, we'll call it Katie or Kay. She's from Luxembourg, which means that German is her basic language, but she's also fluent speaking in French, which will interest a lot of Louisianans. She's very interested in the out-of-doors, in nature, in biology, a very flexible girl, and she also likes sports very much. Soccer is a big thing with Europeans, well, also South Americans, but especially with Europeans. And Louisianans are playing soccer, as you know, more and more and more. So this is a thing where we would urge the family to get the student into a team or a group, glee club, a soccer team, something like that, where they'll be a part of a group.
If someone should want more information or want to apply to be one of the host families, how do they go about doing that?
Well, we'll give you my telephone number and another person that's in the Baton Rouge Club, a telephone number.
Okay, we might as well do that right now.
All right. My name, Mary Kay Waring, and my telephone number, 924-1983. And
Dot Voslo.
Dot Voslo is an officer in the Baton Rouge Club here, and her number is 292-3843. And what we will do, again, as I said, will be to send a couple that have had this experience to the home of those that are interested, or answer any calls by telephone.
Sounds very fascinating. Thank you very much for being with us today on Folks.
I've enjoyed it.
Today we continue our look at minority-owned and operated businesses, and I think you'll find this next story a bit hair-raising. Here's Genevieve Stewart.
Beauty is big business. Cosmetics, figure salons, fashions. For a number of years now, many black corporations such as Johnson Products and Fashion Fair have been cashing in on the quest for a better appearance. These major companies were launched by ambitious men with a good marketing idea the clients were waiting for. Baton Rouge's counterpart may well be Raymond Cosey, a hairstylist who pioneered and capitalized on the unisex trend in hair salons. This talented entrepreneur has nearly tripled his volume of business in 6 years. It all began with a shoe shine stand.
I wanted to do hair when I was 14 years old. I went to school at that age. I went to New Orleans. Matter of fact, I finished my course before I finished high school. So after I finished high school, I went right on into doing hair. At that young age, I was primarily a shoe shine boy in a barber shop. Matter of fact, that's where I started from. Once I finished the course, the same people I used to shine shoes for gave me a job doing hair with them.
And you did mostly men or women at first?
Well, at that time, I was doing mostly men hair, very few ladies. But as the business and years went by, the afros came in style, the business went down for a while, and there was a need for dealing with the ladies at that particular time, so that's when I got off into the ladies.
Women began coming to Raymond's barber shop in the 1960s. Consequently, he began the unisex concept. He wanted a larger location with more potential, and 6 years ago, Ray J's unisex salon opened its doors. It sounds easy, but was starting his own business difficult?
Yes and no. And that can go two ways, because primarily I didn't have any money to start a shop. I knew I wanted a salon. And there was a guy named Emmett Douglas. He helped me in my supplies, equipment, and what I did, came out and found a building, wherein it took me about 3 months to get it ready. And the owners, let me have the building until I opened it, for the salon.
Having convinced suppliers and his landlord to cooperate, Cosey then pursued other means of financing his business venture.
Financing wasn't much of a problem when I started, because I was in business, say, 2 years, and my landlord gave me the option to buy the building. And what happened was, after I built the business, SBA stepped in and bought the building for me.
This initial one-man operation has grown to include 10 employees, his law student receptionist, 8 stylists, and 1 barber. Raymond Cosey promotes Ray J's salon on 2 radio stations, 4 newspapers, and through his annual fashion show. With the success and growth, is it hard to find time to concentrate on the ever-changing economics of business management?
The business is nice. This is something that I totally love. I'm dedicated to the business. I love doing hair. It's the economic part and growth that you have to maintain as the years go by, because prices change, the economics change. I can remember when I first opened, I had a utility bill, something like $200. Today it's right at $5. So which means you're dealing with economic and trying to stay in business.
For a unisex salon, do men feel inhibited coming in?
Well, no. The men that come here, they enjoy coming here because it's a different environment for them. It's a different concept. We all here work together, number one. And it's opening up more and more to men, as well as the ladies, are in the salon. This is more of a family salon. Not only the men can come here, the kids, the whole family can come here.
With the growing lines of men's cosmetics and sculptured hairstyles, are men more concerned with their appearance?
Oh yes, men are putting more emphasis on their hair care than the ladies, the ones that are totally out there in the business world. And it's a need for this type of salon, because this is where it started from. Even interviews that my customers go on, they want to look good. And we put emphasis on that.
Raymond Cosey is a progressive-thinking businessman. His salon is in the process of undergoing a complete remodeling to accommodate the total person. The unisex salons may well have 3 locations in the future, with plans that sound innovative and exciting, especially for a minority-owned business.
The future plans for the salon is We're going to add a boutique shop upstairs one day, juice bar, health bar, and just make the salon more relaxing for the customers. I've always wanted to do total look, and as I grow each year, I get more and more into the total look, in which I was projecting within the next 3 years that we would totally have the total look in this salon. Not only this salon, but I feel that we're going to have chain salons right here in the city of Baton Rouge.
Do you have any advice that you may want to share with others who are considering starting their own business?
First of all, in starting a business, whatever you start, you got to like it. It's dedication that you have to put into it. And thirdly, the economic part. If you can achieve all those goals, then I feel that there will be more black businesses.
What makes it worthwhile?
I love it. I enjoy getting up in the morning and coming to work. I enjoy looking at the clients come in and totally satisfied walking out.
Speaking of a satisfied customer, well, the smile on this customer's face seems to say a lot. Raymond Cosey is an inspiration to aspiring business owners. In his upcoming annual fashion show, he wants to include minority-owned fashion boutiques and other hair designers. He sees that as a means of giving them encouragement and exposure to help promote more black businesses.
Well, that's our program for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week, another edition of Folks, and we hope to see you then. Bye-bye.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.